Well, good morning, friends. It's Tracy and Violet from Tea Time with Tracy and Violet, and it's like 5:45 in the morning. I got up a little while ago, went for a walk, and I'm about to have my morning coffee. So I thought I'd sit down with you and do like what I read in October video, because I didn't do one of those videos. And yeah, well, I have my coffee. Just need to fix my pony. But it is a chilly one here in Nova Scotia today. Let me tell you, I'm going to start a fire here in a little bit. My furnace is kicking in now, if you can hear that. But anyways, I don't have one of my pretty teacups, but I do got my big bad coffee mug. Delicious. So, Violet, what you doing? Anyways, I just wanted to, nope. Oh, it's kind of crooked. It's my tripod. Books I read. So, some of these books I have book chats out with, so I won't go into great detail. The other ones have videos scheduled to be out in the near future, so I'll just do it brief. But so the first book, this is in no order. I forget which one I started with and which one, well, I know what one I finished last, but anyways, The Keeper by Sarah Langan. This is the first book to the, last month I talked about a book called The Missing, but this was the book before that. And like The Missing, you can read them two separately. You don't need to read the first one before you read the second one. But basically this one is about a town. There was a lumber mill that this town was developed on. The whole town was developed on it, but it ended up shutting down after a while. And the place is polluted, and the town is dying out. And there's an evil festering there that it's festering there. The story follows a variety of different characters in this whole town. I forget what the town's called now. Oh, Bedford, Maine. And it's like it's a curse, because people often have the same, or a dream with the same person in it. There's a person living in the town, a young woman, who all of a sudden kind of went a little crazy and things. I don't want to give too much away because I talk about it more in my book chat. I forget if that one's out yet or not. It probably is. I don't know. But anyways, I recommend this. I really like this. I really like The Missing. And this is more, it's not like with ghosts or demons. It's more of a sentient being, evil, just an evilness. And if you like stories about whole towns and following a handful of different people instead of just one specific person or two specific people, this is the kind of book that you want. So, The Keeper by Sarah Langan. Yeah. Okay, one of my reading vlogs I know is out for sure. I read 3 short stories. Well, not short stories, novellas. Susan Hill, like a classic story, The Woman in Black. I had never read it, and I really enjoyed it. This is about, well, it starts off at Christmas time, which I didn't really recognize. This would have been perfect for Christmas. And they're telling ghost stories. He's with his family. They're telling ghost stories. I guess that's a tradition. And his story being told, or at least internally, is this. So you don't really know 100% if it's true or not. I don't feel. Maybe you do, but it's the kind of story It's very, very atmospheric. I really, 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 really enjoyed it. And he has to go to this far off manor. He has to take a train, and just the description of where this takes place. It's in England, but where he has to go, a marsh house. And it's literally this giant house in the middle of a marsh. Foggy, foggy marsh, and you got to go on this one road. And if you veer off that road, it's very dangerous because it's a marsh and people have died there. They sink down into the abyss of the marsh. And this woman passed away who was living in this house, and he is a solicitor, so he has to go and, you know, settle the estate. And it goes on from there. Highly recommend this one. Really, really enjoyed it. And I watched the movie of it too. It's on Netflix with Daniel Radcliffe. I thought the movie was really, really well done too. It's not the same, quite the same. I'm hearing things. It's not quite the same as the book, but the house that's depicted in that, and the like the marsh and things, the town, spot on. But I really like the story, the book. I really like the movie, even though they're a bit different. Like them. I read Inheriting Her Ghosts. This isn't a very long one either. I enjoyed this one. I read this one, that one, and another one all at the same time. This is under 150 pages. But I really enjoyed this one too. This lady, I think, is in her late 30s, early 40s, like 42, I think. That's what pops into my head. She has 2 Irish wolfhounds, which I really enjoy. And she's living in a city over in England, I believe. And she gets this long-lost letter from a long-lost great-aunt who passed away, and she's inheriting her giant estate that's out in the country. And she, I forget what her name is, Eudora. Eudora has lived in the house that she was currently in. It was her childhood house in the city, but she made this decision to up and go. Yes, I will go and take over this estate. And she has no idea what it looks like. She was there when she was a little tiny girl. She barely remembers. And turns out it's more than a house. And yeah, there's, well, by the title, there's ghosts. Not just one ghost, a few ghosts. And the house isn't right in a town in the country, so she has to travel a ways into town if she has to go. But her aunt had such a bad reputation, since her name follows her great aunt, even though she doesn't know her great aunt, people aren't willing to help her. So it's an enjoyable story, a good ghost story. If you want a short, not super scary ghost story with some dogs, this is a perfect one for that. And the third one I read with that reading vlog was Elizabeth. Now, I'm not a big fan of this. This is an older book, and it might be a good book for a certain kind of trope or something, but there's not much, really anything I liked about this book. The writing style, it was originally published in 1976 by Ken Greenhall. Well, like, that's who the author is. But basically it's about, I think she's a 14-year-old girl. Starts right off, her parents pass away, and she had a hand in it. She goes to live with her great-grandmother, or her grandmother, and her grandmother, her uncle, her aunt, and her cousin all live in the same house. And Elizabeth has a relationship with an old ancestor. Oh, I can't remember the lady's name. But she is basically a witch who she communicates in a mirror. She comes to Elizabeth in a mirror and tells her nasty things to do, and the snot-nosed little Elizabeth thinks she knows it all, and it drives me insane. So, not a big fan, but if you're interested in that, Elizabeth. No offense to this author or the story, just was not my cup of tea. Elizabeth was a bratty teenager. There was inappropriate relationships in this, and I'm okay about reading stuff like that, but it wasn't even addressed at all. Like incestual relationships in this, and it was not even talked about at all. And the things that happened in this book, like deaths and stuff, it would be just like, oh, I forgot my watch somewheres, let's go on. Like, it was nothing. So anyways, Elizabeth, not a big fan, but there you go. I read that one. I read The Resurrectionist by Wrath James White. I know my video of this is posted. This was quite an interesting read. I did enjoy it. It's quite gruesome and morbid, and it's about, well, it's basically about this young couple in Las Vegas. He's a blackjack dealer. She's a university student that studies at home, or a PhD student or master student or something. And somebody moves in across the street. A middle-aged, skinny little weasel of a man. And turns out he has this special gift that he can bring people back from the dead. He has an affinity for killing people in horrendous ways, sometimes sexual ways, and bringing them back to life. And when they come back to life, they don't remember what happened. They just go on with their life like nothing happened. So no harm, no foul, right? Well, the young woman, she can't remember exactly, but she's having little flashes, and it goes on from there. But it is not a light read. It's an entertaining read if you're okay with that sort of thing. Not that I'm okay with that sort of thing. I'm okay reading that sort of thing. It's fiction. It's not real. It's an interesting, what the heck is going on here? Story. It's not a great big in detail story. There's not a lot of people you need to follow in this story. It's basically 3 people that you follow in the story. But I enjoyed it. It's not super long, but yeah, if you're not shook by reading this sort of thing, I would recommend it. But again, not for everybody. Not for everybody. This is absolutely 100% an adult book. Don't let your teenagers read this. But yeah, The Resurrectionist. The last book that I read was The Coven. I had this book sent to me by Laverne Stewart, and I devoured this in one day. I really enjoyed it. It's not super long. It's 275. No, 286 pages. Really, really enjoyed this book. It was kind of terrifying for me at the beginning, but it's not like, this is a witchy book, okay? The first part of this book starts off in the 1600s over in Europe, in Ireland, is it? Celtic countries. When witch trials and things were going on, people would be accused of being a witch and burned at the stake for sneezing the wrong way. But not necessarily, but just how ridiculous things were. This young married couple decide to venture to the New World, to New England, for safe travel, like a safer life, because the woman in this book is a healer. She doesn't ever proclaim to be a witch, but she's a healer. She knows how to use herbs. She goes to celebrate Mother Earth in nature, because you don't dare do it out in public, because Christianity, they frown upon that sort of thing. So in New England, it's a new start. Is it though? No, it's not. The young couple build a home in this tiny little town. His cousin is the priest of this town. They had never met, but they get along like a house on fire. And turns out it's even more more dangerous where they are. And yeah, there is some death in this, unexpected, unabashed, just death that you don't want to happen in the first part of this book. The second part of this book, warp speed to 2018. The other half of this book is 2018. So it's more of a modern day take on it. And this follows a couple of women and their friends, middle-aged women. One woman is widowed. One woman is a shopkeeper of the occult, like sells crystals and tarot cards and things like that. Not claiming to be a witch, not at all, but there's some drastic churches out there, even nowadays, that think that's the devil. Thinks that witches are in league with the devil. And things go from there. I ate this up like candy. It was quick paced. I found the research done in this for the historical part was wonderful. And the characters were well developed. And I really liked them all. Even the bad guys. Even though I didn't like the bad guys, they were well developed. Doorknobs, they're all doorknobs. So anyways, Coven, I would highly recommend this. Coven of the Soul Sisters. I keep forgetting to say that. Coven of the Soul Sisters. Highly recommend. And it's not super scary. The part when I was saying that it's scary, it's just the lack of women's rights back in the 1600s. It's terrifying to me. That's what was terrifying for me, for some of the predicaments that women in the beginning of this book were in, because the lack of rights. No. Anyways, I read The Troop. I think I read this the beginning of October. I don't think I read this in September, but The Troop, I think I did. Maybe I'm talking about this book twice, but The Troop by Nick Cutter. I really, 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 really enjoyed this book too. This is about a scoutmaster and I think 4 or 5 boys. They go on a camping trip off the coast of PEI, which is Prince Edward Island, which is a maritime province on Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI. PEI is an island, but they're going off onto an island off the coast of PEI. And I've been to PEI, so it's just, it resonated with me because I'm like, oh, I know where that is. I know where it is. Anyways, they go on to this camping trip on an island, not super far offshore, but it's an island. And these boys are just young, well, like young teenagers. And on the flip side, this man comes up on shore who is ravenous, will eat anything, shoves dirt and rocks and anything in his mouth. He'll eat dead animals off the road. That's the kind of hungry he is. And it turns out he has some sort of a parasite or something. And it turns people insanely hungry. And hunger will drive a person mad. And then you will eat anything that you can get your hands on. That's what happens here. So, yeah. I don't want to say too much, but some boys on an island with a cannibalistic parasite. What you gonna do? Who's gonna make it out alive? Does anybody make it out alive? There. Highly recommend that one. I read this one not too long ago, just a few days ago. It's extremely short. I've seen a lot of people talk about this book. A lot of people talk about it. I enjoyed it. This is by Keelan Patrick Burke. He's the same guy that wrote Kin, and I loved Kin. I really like this. I'm just not so much into novellas. Like, I just don't find that there's enough bulk. Like, I really enjoyed this. I did. But I read it in one sitting. And I'm just like, I like bigger books. I like bigger books. I could have read this as a bigger book, but the story, nothing was left out. It started, basically what the story is about. This married couple, happily married couple. Let me have another whiff off of here. This married couple have a little girl. They had a little girl. She ends up passing in their house, and they get up in the morning and she's passed away in her crib. So I'm assuming they believe it's, you know, SIDS or something like that. But the couple have a hard time. The wife moves in with her parents because she just can't handle it. He's left there at the house. And one day he walks into his passed away daughter's bedroom, and the blankie she was buried in is sitting there on the floor. And it goes on from there. I don't want to say too much because it is it's like 63 pages, so you could read it. No, it's 72 pages. But 74 pages. You could read it really super quick. It's a haunting story. It's a haunting story. Not overly scary or anything, but if you like a good haunted house, haunted story, it's tragic because there's the loss of a child. It doesn't happen as the story goes on. This happens after the effect, after she's already passed. But anyways, I had to see what the big whoop was, and I enjoyed it. I'm just used to bigger books, and I haven't found a short story that blew my socks off. And this didn't necessarily blow my socks off, but I did enjoy it, and I do recommend it if you like short stories, ghost stories. This would be a perfect one. Yeah. Another book I read, it was on my Kindle Unlimited, and it was only like 13 pages. I almost forget to talk about it. I seen one person mention this book, and you can't get it in paperback, but I wouldn't pay for a 13-page paperback anyways. But it's called A Bed. I forget what the author's name is. Elizabeth something. I'll put a picture here. Anyways, super short, so I'm not going to say much about it. Basically, it's after a zombie apocalypse. This mother is holding her daughter-in-law prisoner in a bedroom, and this mother-in-law portrays to be extremely nice, but obviously she's insanely whackers crackers, and she thinks what that's going to make life better is to have a child, but the mother-in-law is too old to have a child. Her daughter-in-law is held, and her husband is not in the picture like he was anymore. Picking up what I'm laying down. So how does a woman have a baby? Zombie apocalypse. Go on from there. It was disgusting. It was disturbing in the sense, yeah, sexual assault and imprisonment, and it was gross. Like, it was a gross story, but it was so short. I think in that book chat, I was like, I could read like a great big story about this, and not necessarily about that, but about a zombie book is what I meant by that. It was over before it started. So the work that was done in those 13 pages, it could have been a whole story. But if you want a little gross out blip of a 10-minute story, A Bed is what it's called. All right, next I read Kathy Koja's The Cipher, and I have to say I really loved this story. It is not start to finish horror story, like you're not going to get a satisfying conclusion. This book is open to interpretation, I believe. I went into this book, just all I remember hearing anybody talk about, this couple found a mysterious hole in their apartment. That's basically it, but there's more to it. They're not a couple. There's this Video Hut assistant manager who really hates his job, lives in a really crappy apartment. It's cold, it's winter, and he's only working there because somebody's got to eat. His apartment's littered with cheap beer cans and things, and his girlfriend, not really his girlfriend, her name is Nakota. She's a bartender at a dive bar that has, has a handful of washed up alcoholics, and they end up stumbling across this black hole in an old storage room in the apartment complex, like apartment building, not in the apartment. The cleaning closet has cleaning products and cans and things, but they're layered in dust. This apartment building is not maintained or anything like that. It's gross. They found this almost like black hole, like a space black hole in the wall, and they become overly obsessed with it. They start putting stuff down it, and things come out different than they did when they were put in. Anyways, I have a video about this to go into it more. Please watch it because I can't condense this book, but I thought this was a brilliant book, but I can't guarantee you'll like it if you read it, if you're taking it just for the literal words of the story, because I think it's open to interpretation, and you got to look at the grander scale of what this means. And there's a I can't really say without giving it away. There's a TV video or a video in here that anybody that watches it sees something different. And that's kind of what this book is. Anybody that reads this book gets something different out of it. That's all I'll say. So, yeah, The Cipher. Another book I read is Ravenous by Ray Garton. This is a werewolf book. I wanted a werewolf book because the last book that I read that I thought was a werewolf book was Those Across the River, and it is a werewolf book, but it's not the kind that I was looking for at all. I wanted something tear your face off kind of werewolf book, and this delivered. There's a book 2 to this. I ordered it. It's not here yet. It's called Bestial, but basically this woman, her name is Emily, she's coming home from a Weight Watchers group. It's not Weight Watchers, but one of those kind of weight loss groups. And her car breaks down. Somebody comes out of the woods, rapes her. She kills him. She ends up going to the hospital, going home and stuff, trying to recover. Changes start happening in her, and she doesn't know what they are. I'm not going to talk about it. But back at the hospital where the body laid, when the police come to check this person out, he's not there anymore. So where the heck did my corpse go? He up and walked out of the hospital. And in this town, these grisly murders start happening. And no human could actually do it because it's very grotesque. No human would have the strength to pull apart what people are how people are found. So I thought this was well paced. There's a lot of profanity in this, and there's adultery in this. There's self-esteem, women's self-esteem, like overweight issues, self-doubt kind of things in this. It's fictional. It's not real. But just a heads up about that. This is not a light, oh, let's read about a werewolf. This is savage. It's savage, but I enjoyed it, and I read it super quick, and it was the werewolf story I was kind of looking for the month of October. So another book I read was Ghost Road Blues. This is the first in a trilogy. I do have the other books. I haven't read them yet. This is about a town called Pine Deep, and they throw the biggest, baddest Halloween festival in the month of October or the fall. They have a haunted hayride, which is, I would love to go on it myself. It sounds really amazing. Like they have hired actors and things like that. Just wonderful, wonderful. Anyways, a band of crazy killers start coming towards this town. Like there was a drug bust gone sideways and they're running. And the FBI or the big police people come to the town to try to set up and catch these guys because Pine Deep isn't their destination, but they'd have to go through Pine Deep to get away. And they end up landing. And there's ghosts involved. There's murder involved. There's racism. There's a lot of things in here. And this is another one, kind of like The Keeper. Not same story at all, but it's a whole town. You follow a whole town and a few different perspectives. There's child abuse in here. There's alcoholism. And anyways, I'm looking forward to reading the other 2 books. So it's like a whole grand story. And I would recommend it. I do have a book chat out on this. So if you want to know more about it, check that out. So that's all I read this month. I did start another book before the end of the month, but didn't finish it because it was Halloween weekend. It was my birthday weekend. I didn't read anything today. Yeah, I didn't read anything, but it's called For Rye. So I'm going to include this in my November. I only got to page 123. It's not super long. I just haven't got a chance to sit down to read it. But that's what I'm reading. So anyways, yeah, that's what I read for the month of October. Not too bad. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. So anyways, I'm going to finish my coffee and I'll end this video. So thanks for joining me today. I'm sorry I didn't get this up a little bit sooner, but it's the way it goes. So I'm going to say peace, love, and happiness today and every single day. Please like, share, and subscribe if you so choose. But if not, that's okay too. I still love you. I still want all the happiness in the world for each and every one of you out there. I certainly do. I really, really honest and truly do. Yes, I do. So, all right, guys, I got to go get the kids up for school. So with that, I'm going to say have a good night or have a good morning. And I might see you tomorrow. Bye. Boink. No, bloop.